Are you looking for the best airflow PC cases? In this video, we will look at some of the 5 best PC cases on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. LIAN LANCOOL 2 Mesh. LIAN knows how to make cases, and the LANCOOL 2 Mesh proves it. It's not flashy, but it offers some of the best stock cooling performance from a mid-tower PC case, and at a reasonable price too. This makes it a no-brainer if you're looking for the best PC case for airflow in this form factor. 65.5 degrees Celsius in total on an Intel Core i9-9900K running at 4.6 GHz is impressive, as is 57.5 degrees on a stock RTX 2070 Super. This puts the LANCOOL 2 Mesh on par with the pricier PHANTEKS P500A, making it the better overall deal. The P500A is a great case and has its advantages, but the LANCOOL 2 Mesh is its equal as far as cooling goes. In addition to cooling performance, there are a few small touches to the LANCOOL 2 Mesh that we really like. Firstly, the front intake fans, or radiator, mount to a multi-way bracket that lets you shift your fan and radiator position slightly to suit your cooling hardware. We also like that the LANCOOL 2 Mesh has a hinged tempered glass side panel on both sides of the case. This would usually be a visual nightmare, as many of us do botched cable management jobs behind the motherboard tray. But the LANCOOL 2 Mesh sidesteps this issue by having metal cover plates that help hide the cable mess, so you get the best of both worlds. And if you really can't get over how boring it looks, you can always get the RGB version for a bit more bling. Number 2. PHANTEKS P500A Digital. The P500A Digital sits at the top of PHANTEKS airflow case stack, offering the expected high airflow performance with some premium extras that set it apart from the rest of its cases. It's not the case for everyone, but builders who want a high-end, roomy case without stepping up to a full tower should check it out. The P500's all-steel mesh front panel will be familiar to anyone who's seen or used a PHANTEKS airflow case before. It's an ultra-fine performance mesh with 1mm, 0.039-inch, perforations that let air through while minimizing dust ingress. It's fine enough that PHANTEKS can ship the P500A without an extra dust filter, keeping airflow high. PHANTEKS ships the P500A with 3 140mm RGB intake fans. These take full advantage of that front mesh panel and unobstructed airflow path to provide excellent stock thermals. 25.2 degrees Celsius CPU and 47.2 degree GPU deltas are great and put the P500A in the upper echelon of airflow cases. That said, the P500A even has room for a second mini ITX system once you install the optional bracket. It's not necessarily ideal, but it is a good option to have. We can see it coming in handy as a quicker and cheaper alternative to buying a whole new case, at least. The PHANTEKS P500A Digital isn't a value-centric case, especially not if cooling performance is your primary concern. But if you need an airflow-friendly mid-tower with extra room and great component compatibility, then this is a case you need to consider. The PHANTEKS P500A Digital comes in white, which is actually black and white, and an all-white color scheme the company calls matte white. Number 3. PHANTEKS P300A. PHANTEKS P300A is one of the few readily available airflow cases that comes in well under the $100 mark. Of course, the company has cut some corners to hit this price bracket. Still, they've retained the core design features that make its higher-end cases such airflow monsters. Despite the huge price gap between the P300A and the higher-end PHANTEKS products, like the P500A above, you still get the same front mesh panel here. It's identical to that on the pricier models, so it still boasts a perfect balance between airflow and dust protection. The open internal layout also helps keep your components cool by limiting airflow obstructions. So the basics of a good airflow case are present and accounted for. There is one issue, though. PHANTEKS cost-cutting involves shipping the P300A with only a single intake fan. This limited fan setup means that the P300A has relatively high temperatures by default. gamersnexus's 3D mark testing resulted in 34.5 and 56.4 degrees Celsius deltas on the CPU and GPU, which isn't particularly great for airflow cases. However, since the P300's basic design is sound, bringing temperatures down is as simple as adding a few extra case fans. Of course, you'll only want budget fans to keep the cost down, but even those should do the trick, given the airflow-friendly design. You can check out our best 120mm fans list for some value and budget options that'll work perfectly in the P300A. Overall, the PHANTEKS P300A is a solid choice if you want a good airflow PC case for less than $100. You will need to budget for at least an extra 120mm fan, but the small additional cost will be worth it for great cooling at a great price. Number 4. FRACTAL Design TORRENT. FRACTAL Design's TORRENT is the company's biggest departure yet. While the company's known for its silence-focused cases, the TORRENT is an out-and-out airflow full tower with a unique internal layout and impressive default fan setup. The fan setup is arguably the TORRENT's star attraction. It comes with two 180mm intakes and three 140mm bottom intakes by default, which goes some way to justifying its price. Bottom fans usually don't work that well in a PC case, but they're perfect here because the TORRENT has a top-mounted PSU. An 18°C delta on a 4.4 GHz overclocked Intel i7-6700K is particularly impressive. The TORRENT's 47.0° delta for the MSI GTX 1080 Gaming X is excellent, too. Combine both, and you get some of the best overall thermal performance you can get in any case, regardless of the form factor. All in all, though, those are minor complaints. Neither detracts from the fact that the FRACTAL Design TORRENT is a stunning airflow case capable of cooling any PC hardware you throw at it. If airflow is your main priority and you don't mind the cost, this is the full tower case to get. The FRACTAL Design TORRENT is available in black and white, with various tempered glass tint options. FRACTAL also has an even pricier RGB version available, which swaps the default fans for their RGB equivalents. Number 5. SSUPD MESHLICIOUS. SSUPD may have an odd name, but there's nothing odd about the company's MESHLICIOUS case. As the name suggests, it's a mesh-centric mini ITX case designed for optimal cooling in a small form factor, with some impressive component compatibility to boot. The SSUPD MESHLICIOUS highlight is definitely the airflow-focused design. Mini ITX cases are generally cramped and not great for airflow, but SSUPD sidesteps this by going with mesh for almost every panel. SSUPD sells the MESHLICIOUS with two mesh panels or a one mesh, one glass setup. Unfortunately, most reviews are of the latter setup, which doesn't show the case's full potential. But the numbers should give you a good idea of what you can expect with two mesh panels. Tech PowerUp stuffed an Intel Core i5-9600K and a Zotac RTX 3060 twin edge OC into the MESHLICIOUS and tested it with the mesh panel on either side. Placing the mesh panel on the CPU side led to a 55.4°C CPU temperature and an 86.4° GPU temperature in gaming tests. Moving the mesh to the other side brought GPU temperatures down to 73.9° but pushed the CPU up to 91.7°. So going with the tempered glass version means you'll have to sacrifice one component for the other. However, the all-mesh option should give you a good balance between the two and keep all your parts relatively happy. Drive support is decent, too. An SFX PSU will let you fit three 3.5-inch drives with a standard GPU and up to 7 if you go with a small form factor, SFF, GPU like the MSI GTX 1654 GTLP. It won't necessarily make for a great gaming rig, but the option's there if you need more storage than GPU power.